First Timothy 6, 3-5. If someone spreads false teachings and does not agree with sound words, that is, those of our Lord Jesus Christ, and with the teaching that accords with godliness, is conceited and understands nothing, but has an unhealthy interest in controversies and verbal disputes. This gives rise to envy, dissension, slanders, evil suspicions, and constant bickering by people corrupted in their minds and deprived of the truth, who suppose that godliness is a way of making a profit. Now, I'm still on my series focused on the corrupted mind. I want to draw attention to the fact that the person who has a corrupted mind may not know that he or she has a corrupted mind. There are justifications, all those things that Paul listed here. For the corrupted mind, everything is justified. And all the interesting controversies and verbal intrudes, the person is going to say, is the other person that is making me have verbal disputes? It's not my fault. It's the other person's fault. The person that is considered and understands nothing thinks everybody else do not understand things. Is that he is the person that understands things. And when it comes to envy, you may not even be able to see it in yourself. Dissension, slanders, evil suspicions you carry on suspecting, and it's just your nature. And also constant bickering by people corrupted in their mind. How constantly are you bickering? It could be once a day, thrice a day, 4 times a day, constantly bickering. I just wanted to say that the person who has a corrupt mind may not know he has a corrupt mind because it's so much part of you. The mind is just part of who we are. Unless God help us shed some light on what's going on within us and to begin to peel back little by little, to begin to embrace the right kind of mind, the mind of Christ, as God will help us. So, we've talked about considered and understands nothing. We've talked about unhealthy interest in controversies and verbal disputes. I'm saying there are 7 symptoms here of a corrupted mind. Number 1 is conceited and understands nothing. Number 2 is unhealthy interest in controversies and verbal disputes. Then envy, dissension, slanders, evil suspicions, and constant bickering. So today we want to talk about the verbal disputes, controversies and verbal disputes. We need to watch what we say. Whenever we say that the person who is quiet, you can think the person is wise. The person who is not running his mouth. We need to avoid the danger of engaging in verbal disputes and just going on and on. Remember, it's about an unhealthy interest and it's verbal disputes. And it's not saying don't ever have any dispute with anyone. Paul and Barnabas had a sharp disagreement. But what we are talking about here is a pattern, because if the mind is corrupt, you're going to see a pattern of expression of these things. You're going to see a pattern. The pattern here is verbal dispute. This person engages in verbal dispute. Why does that happen? Because the dispute is already in the mind of the person. Whatever is going on in the mind is going to come out in the mouth. Whatever argument. So the way I see it is that the person is already having an argument within themselves, arguing with people in their minds already. So it's going to spill out. If there's quietness in your heart, it's going to spill out in your demeanor, right? If there is argument in your heart, it's going to spill out in verbal disputes according to this passage. So let's really, really watch out for the arguments going on. And remember, the focus is not really the dispute. The focus is the fact that the mind is corrupt. And so these are the symptoms. Don't say, I'm not going to talk again. I'm going to talk again. No, you're talking in your mind. Thoughts are playing around and they are fighting each other in your minds. That is it. You need to have the quietness in your mind. You need to have that quietness in your mind, and that quietness will now spill out in our lives. Jesus Christ said, it's not what goes into the mind that defiles the man, but what comes out of the mind. And he mentioned evil thoughts. Evil thoughts. And he started mentioning different things, including murder, right? When you have a list one of the things I want you to do is to pay attention to the first thing mentioned in that list, because it has an influence on the rest. And we have a list here, and the first thing mentioned is conceited and understands nothing. And I'm talking about the first Timothy 6 now, and you begin to see how that plays out when it comes to the rest of the items on that list. You just can say, evil thoughts, the things that defile the man, evil thoughts. God bless you. See you later.